Hello and welcome to the Book Bunch. It has been a long time, guys, since I have been on this channel. I've been trying to keep up with my Instagram, but I've been failing at that as well, so I do apologize. But I promise there's a good reason as of to why I have been absent. We've had some major personal changes in my life right now, and I will update you guys at the end of the video as of to what's all happening with that, why I'm in a different background, all of that kind of thing. So we'll get to that at the end of the video. But for now, welcome to the channel. My name is Sam. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I hope that you guys like it, and I hope that if you guys have any thoughts about this video that you will leave some comments below so that I can respond to you, because I love talking to you guys. I love hearing your recommendations and doing videos that you guys request of me. So yeah, we'll get right into it. I am basically just going to go through some of the books that I have read recently, and yeah, hope you enjoy. So one of the books I have read recently is The Book of Dragons. You'll probably notice a bit of a theme here. There has been a bit of a fantasy binge going on, a bit of a dragon binge going on, so there's that. But basically, yes, I have read the Book of Dragons. It is essentially a collection of short stories from various authors around the world. There are some notable names in there as well, like R.F. Kuang, and yeah, it's quite good. It's more stories that you probably haven't heard of before, even by like the famous authors. They're more like ones that they never properly published or didn't necessarily flesh out entirely, but they are quite good. It's really interesting, some of the stories, their take on dragons, because it's not just like your standard mythical dragon or anything like that. Like some of them are entirely different. Like there's one at the beginning, and the story has a mechanical dragon in it, like it's a robot basically. So yeah, there's like different takes on it throughout the book of different people's imaginings. I didn't love all of the stories. It's kind of one of those things though, when you read a collection of works from various different um, novelists, you'll like some of them and you won't like others. So I do recommend reading it if you like dragons, because it is a good book. But yeah, there's going to be some hit and miss stories in there probably for you, like there was for me, but still recommend it. I don't know if I'll hold on to it though, just because of some of the personal things, which we'll find out at the end of the video. But yeah, it's definitely worth picking up. Following the dragon train, I guess you can say, the trend that I've been going through, I read Black Leviathan. I hadn't heard of this book. I hadn't even heard of the author before. But I picked this up for, I think it was like $8 or $10 from the book grocer. And the reason I picked it up was because I was like, man, I'd really like some stories. There's some dragons in it at the moment. And this one really caught my attention because it is dragons and pirates. I have done a little mini review of it on my Instagram, but yeah, this book was actually so good, and I really hope that he does release a second one, because it's kind of foreshadowing for it to be a series. But it was so good, like so good. It basically is about this crew of pirates who, in this world, pirates are air pirates, not sea pirates, and they basically use this metal to float their ships. And it, like, all of the lands pretty much are floating islands, except for there is this, like, below all of the floating islands and all the mist, which is their like ocean, there's this like underland, I guess, that's like normal surface, but it's like really horrible, and they kind of look at it as like hell essentially. Or basically, like, once you get there, that's it, that's the end of you, that's your demise, because there's these awful creatures living there and you'll basically die and there's nothing you can do. And once you like fall and hit that ground, either you're going to die from impact or you're going to die from what's down there, and there's no way you can get back, kind of thing. But yeah, this story follows basically crew of pirates that are trying to hunt the Black Leviathan, so the big bad mother or father, I guess, of dragons that is meant to be like the oldest one in existence, the biggest one in existence. It's said to have spawned all of the other dragons, and basically they're trying to hunt it down because the captain of this ship, his wife was basically murdered by this dragon, and so now he's like got a vendetta against this dragon, and so he's brought this whole crew along of all these various people, and you follow the perspective of one of the crew members, not actually the captain. And yeah, it's just really interesting. I actually would give this a 5 out of 5 stars, and I really hope that there is more of it. But if you like pirates, if you like dragons, definitely read this. It says on the back that it's basically inspired by Moby Dick, so if you like retellings as well, this might be for you. But yeah, I really liked this one. So we're going to change the tune here a little bit and talk about the Court of Miracles, because I also have read this recently. This is, I'm not sure if it's like one of the super popular ones, but basically I've heard whispers about it around like booktube and stuff, and when I saw this at the book grocer for a ridiculously good price, it was like $10 or something, I was like, yes, I will pick it up because it sounded really interesting. No, this video is not sponsored by the book grocer. I just really like them because they have ridiculously cheap books, which is good for my budget. But yeah, basically this book is a retelling of Les Mis. So it is basically set up where there's like the royalty, and this is set basically after the initial revolution. And so the royalty have been replaced, but the royalty that's there isn't necessarily great either. So there's possibly going to be another revolution. And the society of the day is basically set up into this court of basically all the bad and evil and misguided people of society, because a lot of people are poor, so therefore they get into dodgy stuff basically. And so it is called the Court of Miracles because basically it kind of saves people from dying and like starvation and all of those kind of things, but it's not necessarily good, if that makes sense, because it's divided into different sections, and depending on what section you're joined in depends on what you do. So there's like one for like thievery, one for assassination, one for like prostitution and that kind of thing. Like it's all like the kind of bad trades. Like there's one for drugs, different things. So it's not good. It's definitely not good. But basically you follow this girl who is thrust into this life, and she can't really stop it because there's nothing she can really do about it. But her choice was basically stay with her father, who was going to sell her off to be part of the prostitution group, or to become part of the, like basically run away and become part of the Thieves Guild. So she runs away and she becomes like basically the best thief they've ever seen, because she is so small and agile, and she started so young. She really has a good skill for it, and so she is called the Black Cat. And we follow her story basically, and there's like relationships that she encounters along the way, and the kind of people that she bonds with. It's really good. The writing isn't the best I've ever seen because Kester Grant is one of her like first kind of novels basically. So it's not the most well written, but the story is so good that it makes up for that, and you don't even notice the writing's not amazing once you get into it. So I really enjoyed it. It's a 4 out of 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. I definitely can't wait for the next one to come out because there is at least a second one being announced, if not more. But yeah, I definitely recommend it to anyone who likes kind of gritty but heartfelt, like thievery kind of books. I also, in preparation for my journey into the Wheel of Time, decided to pick up Robert Jordan's Warrior of the Altai. I have never read a Robert Jordan book before, so this was definitely a ride for me. I do think I do like him as an author, so I am interested to see Wheel of Time and see if I like it. This book, though, was a little bit heavy. It does contain a, a it does contain sensitive topics when it comes to things like sexual assault and stuff like that. So if those kind of things trigger you, probably wouldn't recommend it. Also, if you're just sensitive to that kind of thing in general, you can skip it because it's not a huge part of the story, but there is a few pages in there that are quite brutal. I did sort of skip through them a little bit because I found them uncomfortable to read, but yeah, just be mindful of that. But basically, this follows the Warrior of the Altai, which the Altai are basically a group of people who basically live in the plains, and they are a wandering group that basically live off the land, and they move from place to place to kind of make sure that they can't really be ambushed and that they always have supplies and all of that kind of thing. But things are getting harder and harder on the plains, and basically the Altai train their people up to be warriors. And so pretty much all of the people that live in this village or people group, I guess, they are like fierce warriors, like the best warriors basically in the world. And they go through all these various trials to get their warrior status. And we follow one of the warrior leaders, and he basically is thrust into this whole like fate journey type situation, and it follows kind of him trying to save his people and trying to guide them through this really bad time because there's a nearby kingdom that has basically decided to try and wipe them out. And so yeah, there's lots of magic in it. It's a bit weird to read. It's also a hard book to explain without giving it away, so I won't say pretty much anymore, but it's definitely good. I did like it. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars, I'd say. But just be mindful, it's definitely not for a younger audience, and it's definitely covers some sensitive topics, so just be wary of that when you are reading. So then I read the second age of the Mistborn series so far. This series was really good. I still prefer the first age over the second age, but definitely still worth a read. I definitely would still give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I definitely like it. It just doesn't quite hit the same mark for me as the first age. And the reason being is this is set 300 years after the events of the first one. So it doesn't really have any of those old characters in it, which, I mean, it's all right. But it's more that they are referenced because they're like historical figures and religious figures and all of that now. They're referenced in such a way that I kept getting confused as to who they were actually referencing, because some of the names that are given could have referred to a few of the characters. So I kept getting a little bit confused there. And also, it's got more advanced technology in it. So at this stage, they're more at that cowboy gunslinging stage where they've got guns and they've got motor cars and different things. And I didn't like that as much because it it meant that the powers that people had weren't as significant as in the first book, because like you could still shoot people from a distance. You could, like, people that didn't have powers weren't necessarily as disadvantaged, basically. And so you didn't have to kind of rely on your skill as much as just being good with a gun and things like that. So I didn't like it as quite as much for those reasons, but I still definitely recommend it. I am still going to keep it on my shelf. It's still a great series. I just almost see it as a separate series altogether, if that makes sense. So if you're into cowboys, gunslinging, all of that kind of thing with a little bit of magic, definitely do read it because it is good. But yeah, it just doesn't hit in the same way as the original three. It's also not as tragic. Like, there's definitely some things in there that are tragic and messed up because it's Brandon Sanderson, but it's not as devastating and traumatic as the original three were. That the first three hit me so hard, and this one didn't hit me as hard in the emotions, which you might see as a good thing, might see as a bad thing, but I enjoyed the first three a bit better. But basically, this follows a lord named Wax, and he is basically a noble that didn't want to be a noble. So he ran away to the Roughs, which is like essentially the desert, to basically be a lawman, because out there is no law apart from these lawmen who collect bounties and all the rest. And he befriends a young guy named Wayne, who is essentially on a very bad path, and Wax kind of picks him up and puts him under his wing, and they become best mates. And then 20 years later, he finds out that his family has been killed, and he has to come back and basically be that nobleman again, or else like his whole house is going to fall apart, which includes all of the people in under his care. So it's not just like his riches, but like, because he is a nobleman, all of the industry in his area, which is like a huge portion of town, it's like an eighth of the city, all of that industry falls under him. So if he fails or he doesn't rule, all of that industry and all of those like hundreds of thousands of people that are in his employ will lose everything, basically. So he comes back to fulfill that duty, not because he wants to, but because he wants to help those people and make sure that they're all looked after. So he comes back, but he still can't let go of his investigative, like, I've got to solve crimes and I've got to bring justice, basically. He can't get rid of that part of him. So he basically gets involved in all of these drug running and bad kind of smuggling crews. Like, he hunts them down, essentially, that is happening in the city and around the city. And he becomes a like honorary constable, basically, so that he can do it in a lawful way. But yeah, basically he helps the police that work in Ellendale, which is the city that he's in. Yeah, he tries to help keep the law, and then as the books kind of progress, you find that there's this huge other thing going on in the background, and he gets kind of swept up in all of that along with his companions. Yeah, definitely looking forward to reading the next book, which is coming out this year. I am still interested in the Mistborn series and the whole Cosmere as a whole, and I am looking forward to getting into the Stormlight Archive, because that is the one series of his that I haven't gotten into yet. So yes, looking forward to all of that. I hope you guys pick this up and give it a read, because it is a good one, especially if you like sci-fi and fantasy and cowboys, like I said. But yeah, they're all the books I've read recently. There is a few others as well, but they weren't really worth mentioning, because either I didn't finish them or I am still in the midst of reading them. But yeah, sorry I've been away for a while. Now into a little personal update. So I'm going to insert a little picture here for you, but basically my husband and I have purchased a caravan and we are going to convert it, which we had hoped it would already be converted by now, which is why I kind of took that break, because I was hoping I'd come back and I'd be in the van and it would be like a whole new chapter has opened up. But there has been some technical issues and that has pushed our timeline out, and I didn't want to keep you guys waiting for much longer. So that's why I have decided to film a video in my not normal filming space, because that doesn't exist anymore, but also not in the van because that is still a work in progress. But basically, we are living at my mother-in-law's place still, and all of our stuff is just an absolute mess, and we are spending every weekend that we've got free to renovate this van for our family's needs. And yeah, we're going to be doing booktube but in the van, which will be kind of fun because it'll be a bit of a booktube van lifer mashup. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Stay tuned for it all. But yes, I will keep you guys updated as I know things, and if I finally get a move-in date, which would be nice, I'll let you guys know, and you'll be able to see my new setup in the van when that happens. So yes, that's also why I won't be keeping as many books as I had hoped, because I just won't have the space for them. So I will be keeping some in storage, and as I read them, I'll be passing them on to various people and donating them and different things like that. But that's kind of the update. That's where we're at the moment. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it was a bit rambly and a little bit, I don't know, probably a bit crap. But yeah, I'm getting back into the swing of things, so hopefully the next video will be better. But I'll see you guys next week on the channel, and yeah, stay tuned. Please like and subscribe and comment below. Thanks. Bye.